Okay, we're back to talk about Alien Earth, Season 1, Episode 5, titled In Space, No One. This episode is all Noah Hawley, written and directed by Noah Hawley. 17 days before the USS Maginot crashes into Prodigy territory, a fire breaks out and several aliens escape containment on the ship. Security Officer Morrow is awakened after two crew members are found with the facehuggers attached to them. While Morrow investigates, one of the Liege aliens escapes the lab and lays its eggs inside a water bottle which engineering apprentice Malachite drinks. Soon after, he dies, and then the creatures also kill the two doctors that are working on him. The Oculus, the eye alien, is also able to escape containment after Chibuzo does not secure it. It eventually affects Shmuel, the engineer, killing him as well. Morrow discovers through some recovered communication files that engineer Petrovich sabotaged the ship after Boy Cavalier promised to make him rich. Morrow does confront him about this and eventually does kill Petrovich. Meanwhile, after one of the crew members is placed in cryosleep to try and kill the facehugger, the xenomorph hatches from his body and escapes. It kills Tang, it kills Captain Zaveri, but going back to what we saw in episode 1, Morrow is able to safely hide in the impact room while waiting for the ship to crash. And then in a brief moment in the present, Morrow meets with Yutani, offers to capture all the specimens and kill Boy Cavalier if their planned arbitration meeting with lawyers does not go as planned. I must say I loved this episode. But you put a very interesting question in our document here, which is, despite how great it might be, was it a necessary episode? So I thought maybe we would start there to get your general thoughts on it, and if you thought it was a necessary sort of break here in the middle as we go through this story.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this in part because I recall back when we were talking about the premiere, I think I even said, um, I'm glad they just gave us quick cuts. We don't need more than that, or something like that. I remember
Hmm.
exactly how I put it. At the same time, love the stuff here on the Maginot. We've got good
Yeah.
characters, it's compelling. We've got this episode really, I've seen some people referring to it as a mini alien film. I almost don't even know about mini. You know what I mean? Like, you take this episode, which is a good hour, you throw in the stuff from episode one we got at the beginning, you're getting pretty close to feature length
Yeah.
already. And so it's, yeah, I mean, I don't know what you think about this, but on the one hand, to start with the positive, I guess, if you view this as an alien film,
Right.
I'd rank it pretty high.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was
100% right. Yes.
like
Yes.
potentially like the third best alien film in my mind. Yeah.
Now,
Um,
now I must say, I did want to, after this episode, make a point to listen to the official podcast for the show, which I did,
okay.
which has Noah Hawley on it for about 8 minutes at the beginning. And these 8 minutes, I mean, are must listen to sort of hear his definition of why he's doing this, what this means to him, what the intention is in this show. And basically, he says, I did this, this was not originally part of the show. I did this because I wanted to make an alien movie. This was my opportunity to do it. So there we go.
Interesting. Because I almost wondered if it was the other way around.
Yeah.
I'll have to listen to that podcast when I get a chance. But I find myself wondering, like, did they start out where this was going to be the first episode, and then someone said, maybe we're taking too long to get to our main characters?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And but that's interesting if it's not the case, and it was really just that he wanted to make an alien film. Fair enough. And again, I think it was good. And to the question of whether it was necessary,
Yeah.
I guess what I want to say ultimately is no, but I don't care.
Yes, you and I are complete lockstep with this. I think my answer would have been yes if we had any more explanation as to why they were going to capture these things. What was the purpose of Utani wanting them other than just, we want to study it. This is a biological mission to bring things back so we can look and see what's going on. I don't really got much more than that. I was fascinated by what happened in this episode, and I thought some of the things that were revealed were interesting in terms of backstory of Morrow and other stuff. But yeah, in terms of do we need it to continue with where we're going in the story, it doesn't exactly seem like we did, but I am definitely not mad that we got it.
Right. So, like in narrative terms and plot terms is what we mean, if this isn't clear to people listening, right? I mean,
Yeah.
is there is it really moving the plot forward? Is it even really giving us information that we could only get in this way? I
Right.
mean, I guess the one thing would be in that scene where Petrovich is talking to Boy Cavalier through the comms, um, insofar as that's telling us that, oh, actually Boy Cavalier was sabotaging the ship. He wanted it. He knew about it beforehand, and that is kind of new information. Although it's interesting, someone in our YouTube comments a couple of weeks ago said something like this as though it was fact, and I was like, well, where are you getting that from? So
Hmm.
I don't know if they were leaking things they shouldn't have been leaking or
Yeah.
what was
Could have
going
been.
on
Could have
there.
been.
Um, but I'll have to revisit that comment when I get a chance to see what it says. But I mean, and I also did think it was interesting that, like you said in your summary, Boy Cavalier is promising to make Petrovich rich, which is true, I think. They also talk about, like, apparently Petrovich wants to become a hybrid.
Yeah.
The Boy
Yeah. He wants to
Cavalier's,
live forever, give all this money. Yeah. That's he. You boy Cavalier, you can do that now, right? I think that's his question.
yeah, and Boy Cavalier basically says, yeah, we'll do that for you. Which is
Yeah.
interesting because we've been previously told they can only do it with children,
Yeah.
but I recall at the time there questioning whether that was true,
Yeah.
um, or whether they're moving in the direction of wanting to make it available to adults.
Yeah.
This kind of indicates that maybe they are. At the same time, maybe he's just lying.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so okay, like in narrative terms, there's that. But certainly, like even if you wanted that information in the show, you could have gotten it in there some other way or much more quickly or something like
Yeah,
this.
there is some way where that could have become uncovered, even a conversation with Boy and some of his, Kirsch and others that are there. I've seen see people talk about how this was actually teased in the first episode when Morrow is off the ship and he's now sort of hunting for the xenomorph as well in the pilot, and he mentions that he's going to find and kill Boy Cavaliers. How would he know who that is, or why is he looking for him to kill him? Okay, well, this is the reason why. So yeah, we could have uncovered that other ways,
You
but
could
this
have
was a
even had
way
Morrow
to do it.
finding that exact footage in some other
Yeah,
way now that he's back on Earth. You know what I
right,
mean?
exactly,
But
exactly.
I don't. I'm not. I'm
Downloading it
not.
and watching it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I'm not suggesting that that would have been better or
right,
anything like
right.
that. Um, what I think is interesting, I'll be curious to kind of keep an eye on the reactions to this episode in the world because it does seem like, in a lot of contexts, you will find people complaining about things being unnecessary to the plot or something like
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
Well, I kind of think here we have an entire episode of television that is unnecessary to the plot, but is great.
Yes, it
And
is. Yeah.
and part of what I love about television is that you can do this sort of thing. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? So, um, to people listening, I don't want them to think that I personally am complaining about it being unnecessary, like I wish they hadn't done it or something.
Yeah.
Um, I think that even if it's not necessary in those sort of plot terms, I'm really glad that we have it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but you and I are I think in complete agreement on this. If it was a choice between it being 7 episodes or being 8 episodes and having this included, I would prefer to have 8 episodes with this included.
Yeah, well, absolutely, absolutely. And but then it's kind of weird because, right, what we do here on the podcast, we talk through what happens in these episodes, and what do we need to talk about here? Because what what connects up in ways that matter to the rest
Yeah.
of the season? Um,
Yeah.
one thing that stood out to me, and I don't know if you have any thoughts about this, but it seems like they already know what xenomorphs are. And I don't know, does that make sense? That they
Yeah, it
would know
seems
what a xenomorph
seems
is?
like Morrow, seems like Zaveri, seems like maybe even a couple of others understand what's happening or what could happen. Although
That
some of them seem
mm,
like they've never seen a facehugger before and don't, they're surprised by the acid blood and all of this stuff. But I'm just not sure if who and how they were prepared for this, or if only certain people were sort of given this information, or if we're just sort of drawing into that. But it did seem like they understood something about them.
And yeah, I'm like, I kind of hope that the show gives us a little bit more here to work with because it just stood out to me as, or just stood out to me, and it did in a previous week too when Kirsch used the term xenomorph in a
Mm,
previous episode. It's like,
yep.
all right, they already have the term, or at that point, I was wondering if Kirsch was coining the term,
Hmm.
but now it's being used here. Well, at the same time, as I think you were noting, they don't actually seem to understand how the things work. They don't understand how the face huggers work, you know. But then, once it has burst out of what's his name's chest, there's this line where I think it's Navari who says like, "It's a xenomorph,"
Yeah. Yeah.
like they know what that is, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So how thinking about how this is supposed to fit in the timeline, even from what we've been told, I don't know how. I don't know if that tracks. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, we are, as we know, it's been made quite clear this show. We are the events here a couple years before the events of the Alien movie. So it's not
Yeah,
like that has predated us to define what these are, and that's been communicated somehow. So yeah, the fact that these are labeled, named, so someone somewhere knows this, and has identified this somehow, but how important that is to what they do here and what impact it has, not real sure. It just seems like most people are pretty clueless, other than these are some nasty aliens that was with someone somewhere is called xenomorphs.
right. Even though she says that, she also asks something like, "Wait, how big do these things get?"
Yeah,
There's some oddness in there.
yeah.
I don't know. I
This
do kind of hope
was
they fill it
this
in somehow.
this was both I think a praise and a slight complaint on my end. I think I talked maybe in the first episode. I certainly appreciated the lack of CGI xenomorph in this. I mean, there's some aliens where you have to do it, right? The eye alien and the leeches and all those other things. But I mean, the xenomorph is clearly a guy in a suit, and he's running around and very athletic, very acrobatic, and do all the stuff that's good. But I mean, Ripley in Alien 2 is like battling this thing with this huge monstrosity of like the robot thing that's used to pick up heavy. I mean, they're much bigger, much scarier in these movies, and this just seemed like a guy running around in a suit. Just didn't quite get me on the scare factor.
Yeah, and did it strike you as a little bit more upright
Yes,
than they usually
yes.
are?
And now
Yeah,
maybe it's because it's like 6 hours old. I don't know, but
right.
things grow quickly, so that could be it.
I mean, there is an interesting way in which these things look slightly different in like each film and
Yeah.
stuff too. So you just got to roll with it at some level, or
Yeah.
yeah, or you could, if you want an explanation, say, well, human beings look different too.
That's this is true. In the end, I'm glad it's not just sort of take me out of it CGI fest.
I enjoyed the eye octopus. I enjoyed that we got to see it in a human being, which I had
Hmm.
imagined as horrifying and was indeed horrifying. And then it fights the xenomorph,
It
which,
does. Yeah, I tried to bite its neck. Yeah.
yeah, the xenomorph doesn't have eyes, right?
No, not that I can tell. I mean, it's just clearly defending itself, but by stabbing the thing with its tail over and over again. So
Yeah,
pretty quickly dispose of it. But I did like kind of um the reference or callback maybe to last episode, when they goes into the sheep and they're talking about how intelligent it must be and how it has these problem solving skills. And then we see it with intelligence and problem solving skills as it figures out a way to escape and distract Chibuzo so the other thing can escape. I just found that very, very fascinating.
yeah, that was all cool. And then, I wondered if it would be able to talk once it was in Shmuel, and apparently not.
Yeah.
So, or maybe it would have figured it out if it had sufficient time how to manipulate his, vocal cords. There's room to let your imagination go around some of that stuff still. You've got the leech slug tick things.
Yeah. So is that what was in the water bottle and then goes into malachite? Is that I want to make sure I have that correct. Those are the ones that got in his insides or digested or latched on his digestive system.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
Okay. Okay.
They seem to show greater intelligence than you might have thought as well.
Yeah.
So we are learning more about these other species from this
Hmm.
episode in ways that could be relevant moving forward. Particularly with these guys, the fact that it's smart enough to, unlatch the canister, get out of it, and then deposit all these little tadpole babies in her water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so they got some of those on Earth now at the Prodigy Lab. Um, are they going to do anything?
Yeah.
And also it seemed like it kind of seems in retrospect like the Prodigy team didn't find enough of those things, given what we saw here.
Yeah, so I tried to do a quick, sort of freeze frame and check on this. So apart from the two face huggers that broke containment, there are when they say, "Oh, here's look, you can see all the green that are locked up. They're all fine." There are 14 different uh, cages or however you want to describe it that are shown to be locked in containment. So in addition to the two facehuggers which escaped, there's at least 14 others. I think we've only counted five total species now that we've been in the prodigy lab. So there may be more still to come.
Yeah, which that's interesting. We'll see what happens with that. Um, One that we have seen hasn't really done anything. The flora fauna, the one that Chris
Yeah.
said.
That we have not we saw it again very briefly in this episode, but have not seen anything about what it does or what it's capable of. So I can only guess that that's that that's coming. Why would you just tease this thing? But it's going to probably have someone meet a very gruesome death at some point down the line.
Yeah, it's going to do something. Um, any thoughts about Tang? Is he just a creep? Is that
We
is that all
have
that's going on here?
there's like two short scenes with this guy. One of them is him, you know, ogling one of the crew who's in cryo sleep and, pretend like he's rubbing up against her. The other is just a very, very I don't know, just conversation he has with Moro where it almost seems like he knows about Petrovich, and maybe it is he's sneaking in there in the cryo sleep chamber to see these things. So maybe he's seen Petrovich sort of come in and out. So maybe he does know. But yeah, just the way he interacts with Moro, man, this guy is just a complete and utter creep.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of made the inference that he has either seen Petrovich
Hmm.
doing this, getting out of his cryopod, or like noticed that the cryopod was empty when it shouldn't have been,
Right.
and just didn't say anything,
Yeah.
you know?
Because he's a disgusting person. Yes.
Yeah, because he's just some weird psychopath or something. But definitely a compelling character,
Oh
I
yeah.
thought, and really all of these people are. We don't. Some of them are just in the cryopods, really, from what we see. So, um, where was I going to go? Go to this question of thinking about the stupidity at play,
Hmm.
because there's a good amount of stupidity at play,
Hmm.
right? From cutting the face hugger's tail. Yeah, I like, okay, maybe I see what you're trying to like get it off the guy's face or whatever. You didn't know that it had acid blood. Um, but then, just all the other things that they want to do and how they are handling this
Yeah.
crisis. It's very human,
Hmm.
right? Like that motivation to try to pull the slug leech off of the internal organs of what's the guy's name? Malachite.
Malachite. Yeah. That's the one that bothered me after you watched what the facehuggers did, that you're just going to tell your two doctors, yeah, I think the best idea is for you to open him up out of that chamber and try to operate on him. Go right ahead and do that. Yeah, that just that
Yeah,
screams stupidity to me.
what could possibly go wrong? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But that kind of stupidity that is, I mean, I do think it's very human and it's plausible along those lines. You want to save your friend, or even if he's not really your friend, there's some stuff in there where Shmuel, I think that's his name, it's like he's so young, all of that kind of sentimentality at play.
Mhm.
Um, And there's some other stuff that we could also tie in, kind of along these lines of human beings being stupid.
Yeah.
You know, but I wanted to put that in conversation with um, these corporations like Wayland Utani and Prodigy, Mother, Morrow, the Cyborg. Potentially we can think about other things from films and so on and so forth as well. But like the whole idea of what they're trying to do
Mhm.
in getting these alien species and so on. I mean, it's really kind of stupid in a different sort of way. And the term I put on our sheet is hubris, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, I mean, there's a pretty clear theme of, we've seen this in this world, in this universe controlled by corporations, profit over people. Doesn't matter who we have to step on or who we have to hurt to get what we want. Yeah, it's just a matter of, I mean, it seems like what all they're trying to do is making sure they have enough people and the right mechanisms in place to get this thing back anywhere close to Earth so that we can retrieve these things. It doesn't matter who comes back with it or not. It doesn't matter if these people's families are long gone. It doesn't matter what's the situation when they get back. We don't care if they live or die, as long as we have the right people to just point us in the right direction and get us toward Earth. That's all they really care about.
Right. And then the cargo is the mission.
Yeah.
And, again, that question of why they want these things, which you mentioned earlier, um, power. But this is the hubris, I think, of being arrogantly confident that you'll be able to make use of these things to your advantage in a way that won't come back and bite you, right?
Exactly. You as the boy cavalier or the Utani that you can control it. These people on the ship, whatever, they're expendable, but you can control it once you have possession of it.
Right. Where it wouldn't be that hard to imagine if these things got loose on Earth, um, you know, a global catastrophe ultimately
That's
would
right.
not be terribly hard to imagine. When we got it under control, you know. Um, so yeah, something to think about there. Any thoughts about what we see of Morrow and his backstory and his daughter and all of that?
Yeah, it was. So we see that I don't think we ever see any kind of partner, but we see him with a daughter. We see him holding a message that his daughter, 8 years into the mission, has died, and they're keeping her remains for him. He clearly has undergone whatever it is he's undergone to become this cyborg before the mission. Um, but I don't know. It seems like he's having a hard time, or he's just choosing not at all to deal with that, with sort of what he's facing when he comes back home. Eh, I- But is that what's guiding his mission above all else? I mean, I guess so. He has nothing left. So the promise of how Utani will take care of him and what he has when he comes back just doesn't seem like that's much of a motivation. All that's left for him is just following whatever Utani wants at this point.
Yeah, but I think it's almost more of he's a really interesting character, and I guess I do appreciate how they kind of deepen his character through this episode, and
Hmm.
by
Hmm.
seeing how all of this played out, I may be a little bit more sympathetic to him than I was in the first episode when he was just like
Yeah.
letting Navarre die and things like this, because as we saw it all played out, it was like, oh, well, like all these human beings just keep making these stupid decisions.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I'm going to protect myself and get the cargo back, and even there's a coldness to it, but it seems to me that he has gotten to the point where he just feels like this is his purpose,
Yeah.
like this is the meaning of his life. I mean, to that sort of degree, um, in a way where it's not about doing this job in order to get some reward or money or even please Utani or whatever, so much as this is the mission I've been assigned, and kind of all he has is that thought of this as his purpose or
Yeah,
something
which I
like that.
which I find interesting because it makes sense if, it was a synth or a hybrid that felt that way. But in the end, this is still a human that we're dealing with here. But it's a human that's apparently lost everything and come back to nothing that he knew. And so he is, in a sense, been taken over by Utani and just does everything that they need to fulfill that mission of getting these things. That's all that's left in him.
Yeah. I was thinking about this, and of course, they throw it in there that his daughter has died and so on. So he has no one. So the show can't really play with this in the way I'm about to talk about. But it did kind of get me thinking about that structure of the 65-year mission.
Hmm.
And, okay, you're going to be in cryo sleep for a bit. So you aren't going to age as much. I guess that's how the logic of it works. But I just got thinking about, can you imagine if you went on a space mission in 1960 and came back now?
Today, yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
You'd be
I mean, of course,
flabbergasted.
everything here is set in the future, but that would be the time frame if you made it, 65 years in the past for
Yeah,
us.
exactly. I mean, even coming back in that sort of scenario, everything, the world, how it works would be unrecognizable.
Yeah,
It's like Morrow sort of, is able to slide in and out of these places and maneuver. And I mean, that's just who he is. He's got those kind of abilities, but it's just, yeah, just how he can manage in this world when he doesn't have anything. Maybe that's part of it. I don't have anything other than being able to track down these things. That's all I know. And so this is not my world. This is not what I left. So this is all I have to do.
yeah. And I do wonder then, like, how different is the world he left from the one he's come back to?
Hmm.
There are some ways the show can play with that more, but it doesn't really feel like it's going to.
Yeah.
And maybe it isn't as severe or whatever in this future world, the 65 years of it all. Like maybe it wasn't as big of a difference. Like the 20th century in particular was, man, I thought about it with my grandma sometimes in terms of when she passed away in 2019, but she was what, like 94?
Hmm.
And just to think about some of these lifespans of, so when I was a kid, there really weren't cars,
Right.
and like I
Right.
remember when TV was invented, it's like mind blowing almost. Whereas here, maybe even when he left, they were more advanced already. But I got to thinking about that a bit. Utani, I did have one more note, and I want to say something about this, but also the aesthetics of her
Mm.
place. I just wanted to note, I love that she's got the cherry trees.
Yeah.
Did you notice that there are guys in the background who are dressed like they're like shoguns?
Yeah, like 16th century shoguns with machine guns. That's what it looked
Yeah,
like?
she's got her guards dressed like that. All right, you do you. But one more thing I wanted to hit on, which maybe I should have tied in a little bit earlier, is the fact that Utani in that conversation at the end,
Hmm.
she actually seems pretty content to just let the lawyers handle it in arbitration.
Yeah.
Um,
Which,
any thoughts about that?
I mean, just the ridiculousness of it that I'm sure she has exposure and awareness of the type of person that Boyd Cavalier is. Um, he has said to her that any attempt to retrieve this will be seen as hostile. Okay, we're not going to do that. We'll just do it through the lawyers. I just can't. In this type of world, I can't believe that she actually thinks that. Does she think that that's going to accomplish something? The boy's just going to come with lawyers and we're going to work out a negotiation to hand these things over and it'll all be peaceful. I mean, I think that's why she's preparing and going to activate Moro, but maybe it's all just a ruse at this point just to get them in the room.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It got me thinking about things in a slightly different way, I guess, that
Yeah,
um at how to put this. It got me thinking that for these super rich CEOs or
yeah,
whatever, it's just a game.
yeah. That's
You
right.
know what I mean? Like, and so, hey, our ship that had the stuff on it that we wanted ended up in the hands of one of our competitors, but they don't have a right to it. We
Yeah,
have a right to it. So yeah, let's go to court, you know? So it got me thinking
yeah,
about that. For her, it's more of just a game, whereas for Morrow, it's like this concrete important thing. I actually think he feels like it's more important than she does in a certain way. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's kind of how it
yeah.
landed for
I,
me.
I think that he knows what's coming or he expects what's coming. Utani strikes me at least as a more reasonable person than cavalier. So maybe she's just saying, we'll take the first step, but we know that to get up the ladder is going to take a lot more escalation of things. Yeah, I don't know. I just have a hard time believing that she actually thinks that this is going to be any way beneficial.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. Um, you know, I'm not suggesting she's against the idea of doing
Right.
it through violence either.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just suggesting that maybe there's something here to think about in terms of a level of detachment amongst the uber rich tech trillionaires. In this world they're trillionaires, right?
Yeah.
Where they're just not experiencing the world in the same way,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
So it's being felt more as a game, more as a competition, right? Where okay, he's like, maybe we're going to lose this round,
Yeah. Yeah.
we'll win the next round, or something like
Yeah.
that. Whereas for Moro, it's kind of like this round
This is
is
it. This
my
is all
life.
there
This
is.
is what it's
That's
about,
right.
you know. So just thinking about that
I
a
think
little
that's
bit
right.
there.
I think that's a great point. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to hit on before we wrap up here?
No, I think that covers it. And yeah, just great episode to talk through.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. Again, I would say, ranking alien films. The first one, the second one, then
This one,
this,
yeah.
potentially. It's a really, really, really good episode. Okay, so we'll be back next week for episode 6. Thanks as always for listening to the podcast. If you've enjoyed it, please do leave a good rating, review, all that good stuff. If you're on YouTube, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel. I really appreciate it. Check out tvobsessive.com where you can find written work on any number of TV shows, past and present. You can follow the site on social media. If you search for TV Obsessive, you should find us on pretty much all of the platforms. I think I have to check on something on Mastodon. Apologies if we disappeared from Mastodon, if we have any Mastodon followers out there. And we'll be back next week.
All right, we'll see you then.